So, hello, travelers. Once again, we are back. I want to start off with a slightly sentimental thank you so much to the team at Hello Games for 6 amazing years of improvements, expansions, updates, visual improvements, fidelity improvements, all of the work that has gone into making No Man's Sky the game it wanted to be at launch, and the game that so many of us are playing and enjoying to this day, new and old. There are no words that really put into focus how this game makes me feel in terms of the renaissance that I hope is coming for space games. That being said, this video is also a revamp or a readdress of my hopes for the, cross our fingers, 4.0 update, which, if we're following the end of the expedition, will fall somewhere in September, about a month outside of the actual anniversary date of No Man's Sky. So, much to my surprise, a few of my bullet points for my last video addressing 4.0 were actually introduced to the Endurance update. Most notably, some freighter tech, freighter improvements, base building improvements, visual fidelity. It's embarrassing as hell, but I did not realize that I have been running No Man's Sky below the actual resolution that my monitor is capable of handling. I've been running the game at 1080p. So when I found out that they increased the rendering distance on planets and I fixed the resolution on my monitor, I was literally blown away by how much different being able to see a longer distance on planets makes the game feel. Never mind the improvements to asteroid fields in space. I never thought this would have any real impact on playing the game, but not running into a constant blob of asteroids all the time and seeing ships mining them, NPCs mining them. Just anything that improves the immersion in the game is always a plus. So I'm not going to ramble on. I want to get to my new bullet points, because 4.0 has the potential of being the very final large update for No Man's Sky. I don't want to break a lot of people's hearts, but Hello Games are working on something else. We know this. Sean Murray has been hinting for about a year that there's something coming. So, inevitably, there won't be as much robust improvement on No Man's Sky. Well, not improvement, but not as much robust development on No Man's Sky. It's reaching a point where the game is in such a good state that you don't have to go large all the time. So, 4.0 needs to be maybe the last big hurrah for No Man's Sky. Again, I don't want to break people's hearts or disappoint them, but in terms of game development, you have to be realistic. So, it needs to be big. So, I went back to my list, and I took out some of the things that the Endurance update addressed, and I said to myself, well, how big do I really want to go? So let's go into it. Number 1, multi-biome planets. So, if we're going to really make No Man's Sky feel as realistic as possible without being a full-fledged planetary sim game, we need multiple biomes. Now, I want to be clear. I don't want this to be as frequent as ring planets. I want this to be rare. Most importantly, because you want to actually run into these planets on very rare occasions, and I want them to be special. And I want them to be special because inevitably they will probably be the planets that most of the communities in the game will want to build on, because it'll incorporate biomes that different people want to build on into one planet. So deserts, forests, swamps, snow caps, beaches, oceans, lakes, rivers. And with this, seeing as how we do have physics for cloth, can we get full water physics? Can we actually have waterfalls and rivers? Because if you fold that in with multi-biome planets, you get literally what Star Citizen is trying to do. Star Citizen just got rivers, and it's in a very rudimentary point at this point. If No Man's Sky can break the mold and go full-fledged multi-biome planets, and this could literally be just a homeworld at the center of the galaxy, or one star system. It can be rare as hell, but I want this, and so many people want this. This has been the holy grail for a lot of us. So, number 2, and this one is back on the list because it has been the request of the community since the dawn of time, and I sound like a broken record every time I bring it up, so I'm going to fold it into the other part of this. Ship and freighter painting. Give us the tools to customize. Give us the paint jobs. It does not have to affect the ship hunt, because you're still going to be looking for those models, you're still going to be looking for those stats, but once I get that gorgeous fighter that I've been hunting for, once I get that solar ship that I've been looking for in the model that I want and specs, I want to be able to paint it all white, all black, two-tone. I want to be able to customize my ships. I want to make them feel like my own. I get so much joy out of looking at my freighter, seeing it painted in black and blue, or all white and gray, and going, God, I wish some of my ships looked like that. Now this is something that they could also put only as a terminal on your freighter. Make freighters even more important than Endurance has made them, because I will be absolutely honest with you. I had no intention of building on a freighter. I was actually thinking of finally settling on a planet when Endurance came out. Building on a freighter has been mind-blowingly more intuitive and amazing, and I want to say this is something that should have been brought up in my last video. This year, the art team in No Man's Sky has pushed it to the limits. They have done a mind-blowingly awesome job of introducing new assets into the game while fitting with the aesthetic of the game. The new freighter parts are so damn good, so visually appealing. No longer having nebula light bleed through the parts of the freighter. My God, thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, the painting. I want it on my freighters too. My freighters are cool. I love the models of freighters. They've always been visually cool. They add variety. And I want to be able to paint them too. So next we come up with the third one. Since we're starting to really make freighters important, really important, because now they have so much more versatility and function, how about we get multiplayer fleet battles? Now this can come in different forms. Maybe an instance BR type of thing with certain rewards set for it. Possibly introducing an RTS system control idea into the game, where since we're inevitably going to be getting some form of station control, fighting over a station to claim a station would be cool. Territory control. I mean, it's a bit higher on the coding side, and maybe what players would be interested in. I know there's a lot of us. This could be something isolated to the multiplayer facet of the game. And now I'll fold this into a bullet point later. But being able to actually interact with players more. This would be something that would be really cool. And you could have specialized freighter parts where you have multiplayer cannons, disruptors, shield disruptors, hangars with automated fighters, like the frigates do, like the military frigates. For people who are unaware, if you have a military combat frigate in your fleet and you're being attacked, it will warp into an area near you and release fighters to protect you on top of the squadron you probably already have, which is a really cool addition that a lot of people didn't realize actually existed. So, number 5 is kind of in the vein of the multi-biomes, but we have, I think it's 7 races in No Man's Sky. And you know what? I get that we probably can't do huge sprawling cities on planets via the procedural generation. But, as we've seen with the Nexus, they can do large scale builds in an instance. How about you get us homeworlds for all of the species? They can be rare in single galaxies that we have to jump to get to. But how about at the core of the galaxy, instead of just bland center of the galaxy experience that we have now, how about we come to the Gek homeworld, or the Korvac homeworld, or the Viking homeworld? I want to see awesomely handcrafted homeworlds, and they don't even have to be homeworlds. Some of them, like with the Korvac, could be space stations, huge, sprawling, civilization scale space stations. Something cool to strive to visit, to interact with, and maybe make it so players could have rentable apartments on them. How awesome would it be that you could live on the Gek homeworld as a Gek and interact with your people and have a home on the Gek homeworld? I mean, it's in terms of scope, the biggest things they would ever do with the game. But again, we're at 4.0. We are at what might be the end of the really exacerbating development cycle of the game and the slowdown. So let's make this a splash. So while we're on that topic, No Man's Sky does have a fairly good modding community. It's not huge. And as I learned through playing Ark, what made Ark one of the most amazing gaming experiences I personally have ever had in my life, I've sunk, oh my god, it's almost 5,200 hours into Ark now. More than any MMO I've ever played. More, oddly enough, than I've played No Man's Sky, was the mods. Ark's modding community is amazing with the things they do with the tools that they've been given. We need a robust modding kit for No Man's Sky. Access to all the assets, access to the AI coding. Give the players the tools to make the game even more mind-blowing. Because as development slows down from Hello Games, the interest isn't going to stop from the community. And there are many people like Rayrod that do amazing things with what they can access. Imagine being given almost all of the keys to the ship and saying, play my community. The amazing things that could be done, undoubtedly, by the community would just keep this game going on for eternity. So then we're on to the multiplayer experience, and this is why I brought up player fleet battles. The multiplayer experience needs a little work. It needs a guild system. It needs an actual economy that can't be scummed and hacked. It needs, to a degree, a literal MMO experience with actual leveling, loot chase. Again, this might be a lot to do, but if we're going to keep insisting on making multiplayer an experience that the game centrifies on, like with Expeditions, it needs to feel more meaningful like a universe. And maybe that might require making the multiplayer experience only one galaxy. Keep it in Euclid. It's big enough to support, Jesus Christ, probably 100,000 players easily, with no problem. So let's condense the scope of multiplayer in terms of a single galaxy and make it a meaningful multiplayer experience with PvP, PvE, an NPC threat, player battles, player communities. Let's really make community-centric base building like survival games do have, like MMOs do have. This can be folded into the settlement system in a way. It can be based around base building. There are many ways that this can be done. But as we have different game modes, A lot of us like playing in multiplayer. I will not deny that some of the most fun experience I have had in this game have been the multiplayer experiences in expeditions, meeting new players, introducing them to game systems that they don't necessarily understand. Actually, just being on a planet with other people is such an experience, especially in a game this scope. I always felt very alone in Elite Dangerous, and there are many times you feel very alone in Star Citizen. The experiences that I had in multiplayer in No Man's Sky are so much fun, especially when you listen to the wonder of new players finding things that they've never seen before. So, number 8 was a bullet point that I had on my last list. And I will go over it again for people who maybe did not look at my last video or fully understand what I was talking about. There are a number of mods that allow you to fly the Sentinel ship. The Sentinel ship is a police ship, but if you ever watch the E3 trailers for No Man's Sky, it's a very similar model. It's a very classic A-wing triangle-shaped ship. It's a very basic single-pilot ship. If you get a 5-star wanted rating from Sentinels, you end up in a Sentinel freighter battle. It's been in the game since the beginning, but there's no reward for it. It doesn't actually matter that you engage in it. It's somewhat difficult, you get nanites and loot, but there's no real awesome, cool reward. I would love to see the ability to get the model of the Sentinel ship as a reward for completing that battle. And scale it up, maybe make it a little harder, make it so multiple people have to do it. But I want that ship so bad. I've used it as my starter ship with the mod for my gaming experience many times in the game. And I'm almost contemplating doing it again as I'm hunting for a home world to live on and do my new play experience. I want the model. I'm just fascinated with the model. It's it's my type of ship. And I know it's crazy because people love all the other types of ships, and I have other ships in the game that I love. I'm hunting right now for a solar ship that's designed similar to a Cylon Raider from the reimagined Galactica. So, I mean, it's not going to be my only ship, but it's a ship that I love a lot. And I'm rambling. So, number 9. There are so many survival elements in the game. There's a cooking system. There's a resource system. There's a base building system. There are technology trees. If you're going to offer us the ability to play the game in survival mode, I want a true survival experience. I do not want to start out with a ship. I want to start on a random planet. I want to have to work, to build a base, to learn technologies, to discover technologies, to find or create a ship. And I want that ship to be rudimentary as hell. And I want to be able to use an actual survival game experience to improve that ship and eventually earn a freighter and earn the ability to have a settlement. If you're going to give me a survival mode in the game, I want it to be an actual survival experience. A lot of the systems already exist in the game. The cooking system is one of the deeper systems in the game that was completely nullified when they did away with the unique creature base for creatures and just turned it into carbon pellets. If you're going to offer us unique playstyles, please, I want it fleshed out. This is 4.0. This is the balls to the walls update. This is the anniversary of anniversaries. Make this a thing. So, number 10. Boy, I'm so excited. Number 10. I've had elements in my other video to this, but I'm going to push it even further. This also involves settlements. Settlements right now are rudimentary, and we know they were introduced that way for a reason. The idea is to iterate on them more. but they need to be thematic. If I go to a swamp planet, the settlement needs to feel like it belongs more to the people that live on that planet. So if I'm on a swamp planet, I should kind of be seeing the tree people, the sharks, people more themed towards what would live on that planet. And the buildings should reflect this too. They should be covered in greenery. There should be mushrooms growing out of technology. And anything that builds in there should also fit that aesthetic. And I want more thematic base building parts too. I want organic building parts. I want rundown shanty building parts. I want more. And it's greedy, and with the modding tools, maybe it's something the community could do instead to supplement their development. But I want communities to feel more incorporated into the game and more meaningful. With that, on the multiplayer side, I want to be able to create actual communities. So the base building needs to cross-save data across all players in a guild. So I want to be able to create a guild building area and allow the people in the guild to build within the perimeter of that area. And I also want the ability to link player communities, be it by the power system or some unique buildable that allows you to do guild mergers. I want communities to feel more important. There are so many community hubs in the game. A lot of people don't even know about them, but there are huge community hubs in the game that have been here since day one. And they're cool, but I'd love to see more of them. And the reason why I want to see more of them is because, especially if we're going to do a multiplayer survival experience in a single galaxy, I want the ability to run into more players in more areas be a thing. It doesn't have to still be where you can't be alone exploring the universe, but I want to be able to jump into a star system and realize, hey, isn't this the French Galactic Hub? Isn't this the Star Trek Galactic Hub? Isn't this the Battlestar Galactica colony? I want to be able to identify player groups and work with them and enjoy creating communities in the game. Because one of the coolest things about space games is the idea of creating intergalactic communities and factions that fight each other. And I know this sounds like something that might formulaically change the game for people, but it doesn't have to be incorporated into every play mode of the game. This could be, again, isolated solely to the multiplayer experience, almost turning No Man's Sky into an MMO. Now again, this requires support and this requires development, so it may not be something that's fully doable. But in terms of pushing the bases, pushing more integration to make them feel like they're unique and belong to the planets that they're on, power options, we don't have wind, we don't have hydraulic. I'd like to see geothermal, so you could build geothermal, use geothermal vents on volcanic planets to power your base. There's so many things, and I didn't put it on here, but fishing, I know it seems stupid in a space game, but it's a staple of every survival game out there. I know it sounds dumb, but please? And there's just so many things that I could make this list 10 times longer than it is. And as you can tell, I'm excited because I just ended the Endurance expedition, and I'm going to do my regular playthrough. And I'm in the galaxy that the end of the Outlaws expedition put you in, and I'm looking for my homeworld. And I'm going to do a whole playthrough experience with my freighter, and I'm just, in a month from now, I actually, as stupid as it seems, a month from now, I want a reason to start over again. To experience a whole new experience in the game. It doesn't have to be that way, but we're ending out the year, and so many games have been pushed off. This would be a perfect time to bring in so many new people and back old people and maybe people who still aren't happy with the situation in Elite Dangerous and the situation in Star Citizen. Two games that arguably aren't going to be where they need to be. There's so much passion right now for this game from the community. There's so much passion from a lot of people who love space, that play this game, that just our imaginations probably supersede what's capable of the game engine. Maybe we're gonna get a game engine update. I don't know. There's just so much potential, and I'm not gonna ramble on much longer because this video would be ridiculously long. But I want to send out a huge, huge thank you to people who've been playing this game since launch, people who came back after being alienated, and to all the new people who have come in and made the experience that much better. Thank you so much, because there aren't many space games that capture my imagination the way No Man's Sky has. Because as much as I love realism, as much as I love realistic space sims, the arcadey, artistic nature of No Man's Sky makes space and space exploration that more enthralling to me. It's not hyper-realistic. I don't have to wait 2 days to travel between planets. It isn't going to take me 6 months to walk around a planet. It's fun. It makes space accessible. And it inspires a whole generation of artists and scientists. It's one of the things that Star Trek does not get enough credit for, and it's something that gaming also does not get a lot of credit for, is the way it inspires people to change the real world. And I'm not a sentimental person, but this game, between playing this game, being exposed to Battlestar Galactica in 2006, The Expanse in the 2020s, space has been reinvigorated for me at a time that I didn't think it would be. And there's so much potential for humanity out there, not just in terms of exploration, but bettering our lives on Earth. And No Man's Sky kind of inspires that in me and a lot of people. And Sean Murray is owed a thanks. He's a dreamer. His dreams got out of hand in the beginning, and he knows that. For people who still shit on the team that makes this game and come up with their stupid comments about lies and stuff, when you are somebody who is creative and inspired by the things that you do, it's hard to rein that in sometimes. This list is proof of that. But yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you so much for not only watching my videos, but forming this community of gaming. This impassioned community of gaming that just loves... I love everything you guys do. I love everything Hello Games do. Much as I criticize them, CIG, the Elite devs, the Kerbal devs, we still haven't seen much of Kerbal Space Program 2, and anybody that dares to make a space game. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, from all the players. Thank you so much again. Have a good one, everybody.